when I was riding around Australia early this year, I was on a lot of the main roads looking around the train and thinking there's probably some really good dirt roads and alternative tracks going through here, and they'd probably be a lot more fun than the main route. I had tried the Hemi GPS navigation app. Maps are great. User interface, nightmare. In fact, it ended up failing me in the middle of a desert. So it sort of put me off GPS navigation. But I have to get down to Torquay for a photo shoot. And I thought, well, why don't I give it another crack? Having a navigation app is one thing, but actually knowing which dirt roads and tracks to take is a whole other thing. So I thought, I wonder if I can just Google that. So I Googled dirt roads and tracks between Queensland and Victoria, and to my surprise, there are quite a few. And in fact, I found one website that had quite a lot. So I started downloading them. I have a subscription to Outside, and with that actually comes an app called Gaia GPX. My friends have used it in the backcountry in Canada, but I'd never used it. So I downloaded it, downloaded the GPX files, the navigation GPS files, and uploaded them to the app. It was pretty simple. So my plan is to jump on and off these alternative dirt tracks all the way down to Torquay and back. What could go wrong? I headed off, climbing up and over the mountain. Across the valley. Then I made my way west towards the first GPX file I was going to follow, passing through small towns along winding roads. You know you're in the country when you start going across old wooden bridges. I finally got to the GPX route at a little place called Afterleigh. So now I had to see if I could follow it. It took me to a small dam. The trail dropped down beside the dam, but I noticed I'd lost the internet signal. Well, I've hooked up with the GPX file, and probably the loudest cicadas I've ever heard. Comes in waves, then it'll drop back off. I was under the assumption that the GPX files were actually no idea if you can hear me. I was under the assumption that the GPX files are downloaded, but they're not, so the map seems to be disappearing. I came back up to the dam, one because it's quieter, and I did get a little signal on the map. So I've had a quick search, and it seems that it's quite easy. I just go to layers and then save that map you're looking at, and then you put a little box around it and hit save, and apparently they all join together. Not sure if it'll work, but it was easy. Hopefully it does. With the maps now working offline, I could now get on with riding, and finally onto the dirt. The track went to the low side of the dam, back up the other side, then onto what seemed to be farm roads. Well, that sign didn't look promising, but I thought I'd ride a little further and see. The the road into the forest was definitely closed, and fines applied if I got caught in there. As there was nothing specific I was trying to see, I thought it would be best to find another route, as I was only really after dirt roads, and it seemed there was plenty out here. Rode through the rolling green hills until I hit another road closed sign. So I took the only other option. There had been heavy rains recently. Maybe these road closures were the result of damage from the rain. Now, here's a second lesson I've learnt today. Besides needing to download the map area for offline use, it is probably advisable to place the rectangle a lot further away from the track than you think, just in case you have to find an alternative route, say for road closure, as now I had no maps and still no signal to be able to download them. Again, I was travelling without any navigation. I assumed if I kept heading in a southeasterly direction, I'd eventually come across a road sign, an internet signal, or a town. Finally, I got a signal. I was close to the town of Grafton, and I could see I could join back onto the GPX route just past the town, so I headed towards it. Made it onto the old Gleanliness Road. I soon found myself back on the dirt and back on the GPX file. This was a place you can free camp, according to Wikicamp. It does give the warning there are normally cows here, so you may have to share. I think I'll continue on a bit. I rode alongside the Boyd River a little bit further, until I came across a track that looked like it led down to the riverbank. There was a great looking spot of grass, but the track continued, so I thought I'd see if there was any other options further along the riverbank. There was no real access to the river through there. The track and area turned mainly into river rock, which isn't the most comfortable to sleep on, so I turned back. Past the cows, and made it back to the lush grass area. Well, I finally made it somewhere to camp, and a riverbank is always a good place to camp. There's no rain forecast, there hasn't been a lot of rain, so it shouldn't flood, so that's always the first thing to think about. That first stop, lots of cows, and then I went a bit further up and more cows, so I came back a bit onto this pretty lush looking grass. Time to set up camp and Maybe I'm a bit rusty at this. Might be a bit close to the edge. But it's only about 1 metre down to sand, so if I do fall, it should be okay. Oh, I can't be bothered moving it. Just have to be aware, situationally aware. Hopefully I don't get up in the middle of the night needing to go to the toilet. Camp set up. I remembered how, so that's all good. It's the beginning of summer, and I had to get those riding pants off. It is hot, even now. There is a breeze, that's why I'm sitting outside of the tent. It's coming this way. Hopefully it cools down a little more. One of the things I've changed up in testing on this trip are the soft panniers on the side, and they seem to be going okay. When I packed them, I had to cinch them right down to nothing left, like I needed more gear in there, which is I guess a good thing to have, but nothing seemed to bounce around. There's no issues. Only on one side, one of the main straps, it looks like it's stressing a bit. I'll have to watch that one. I try to tie another piece near there, trying to give it some support, so I don't know if it's just me being overcautious, but have to watch that one. Definitely enjoying the dirt roads and farm roads way more than the Pacific Highway. A lot more fun, even if I have to turn around and go back the direction I came, sort of. With the last of the light, I pumped up a new addition to the camp setup. A pillow. Now the question is, with the soft panniers, do I take them off overnight? They're a little fiddly. The hard ones I can lock on there and lock everything in there, but I can't with the soft ones. I mean, there's nothing worth stealing. It would just be really inconvenient to lose some of the stuff. What does everybody else do? On that thought, I went to bed. Until I heard the clanging of river rocks. Trying to get to sleep and cows are crossing the riverbank. Making an awful racket. With a lot of dew overnight, I was going to be packing up a wet tent. There were hundreds of insects just skimming on the water. Morning. It's just before 6 a.m. It's a lot cooler, which is nice, but that's not going to last long. The sun's just coming over the top of the ridge here. It's going to get warm. So I'll pack up, get those long pants back on, and get on the road. While a bug did laps around my headlight, I got my gear sorted. Gear's packed up and still have plenty of time before this sun hits me. I made my way back along the trail I had come in on. Up a small hill to get back on to the main dirt road. The Boyd is one of many rivers in the area, along with the Namboida, Guy Fawkes, Henry and Manning rivers that feed into the mighty Clarence River. More cows. It seems they're all along this track. The old Glen Innes Road was constructed during the 1800s, so the track's been here a while, but originally was ridden by 1 horsepower. Startled the little fella. The GPX file had me turn off the old Glen Innes Road and head up the Chilindi Road. As I was riding along a river, it was inevitable I'd cross it at some point, and it was picture perfect. I started climbing in what felt more like a state forest now. After I wound my way up the climb, the track turned into long straights. How good was that first section along the river? Pretty cool trail. I got the turn off, and this seems more like a forestry road, and surprisingly there's a sign up here, there's a few trails coming off it as well, or roads and national parks. It's more like a thoroughfare. With these files I'm following, the GPX files, I didn't really do much research, so I don't actually know what's out here. I was thinking more this, not the river part at the beginning, but it's a lot of fun too. I haven't seen anybody. It is about 7:30 in the morning, so I'm not sure if that's why, but no, it's good. You can keep up some speed in some sections, and it gets quite windy. It's not hard at all. There's no real reason to stand up except for stretching your legs. We'll see what's ahead. It's like a lucky dip. The trail opened up again with long straights, with the occasional obstruction. I then found myself in what looked like open grazing land before heading back into more forest. I finally hit the tarmac as I came into a row of small farms. I reached a major road and followed the GPX file south, hoping it would lead to another section of trails soon. Just a quick stop at Ebor, I think it is, EBOR. Got some fuel and a little bit of break from the dirt, and I think a bit further up, 5 to 10 kilometres, take a left back onto some dirt again. I'm not sure because I have no idea where it's going, but that's what I think's happening. My strapping down of the new side panniers seemed to be working, as nothing had come loose, but was getting covered by a fair bit of dirt. I hit the dirt again as I headed towards New England National Park. Actually, it seemed I wasn't going to ride into New England National Park, but instead the GPX route was taking me into Carnarvon National Park. It's part of the Gondwana Rainforest of Australia World Heritage Area. The area is made up of towering eucalyptus forests and large ground ferns. Gondwana Rainforest is the largest area of subtropical rainforest in the world. From southeast Queensland, it continues down into northern New South Wales. Although there had been recent rain, it was kicking up a lot of dust. The left side of the forest opened up, and to my surprise, I was quite high up. I snaked my way down the side of the ridge. Just having a quick stop to get a drink, because as I've dropped down, it's got a lot hotter. As you can see, we're dropping, and we must be right on the ridge of this line, because either side, other side was a lot steeper. This side's still pretty steep. And I've been on my brakes a bit, so I can smell my brakes, but it's just because of it's a logging through this area too, so I'm worried about logging trucks coming around a corner and they're going to stop me. I'm not going to stop them. Alright, back on the bike. Then the vegetation opened up to a beautiful valley. More winding my way along the trail. Even the horses were finding it hot, sheltering under this tree by an abandoned house. I had made it down to the Torquay River, which the track followed alongside. Oh man, had to stop again, get some more water. That last section down that cliff face was so hot. It was like someone had a hairdryer and was blowing it straight in my face. It was actually better to have the visor down in the heat than up. Normally you'd have it up to get some wind in, but the wind was like literally a hairdryer. I have no idea why. There's no reception here, so I have no idea what the temperature is. But man, it's hot. It is stunningly beautiful here. You can actually camp along this river. I think it might be further up. I haven't seen any access down to it. And man, it's the heat. I want to get some more water into me. Oh, just standing here, I'm sweating. The next section of dirt road did look fun. I was getting mini Himalayan vibes going through this section. You know, dirt track along cliff faces with rivers down below. Well, it was just missing the massive drop-off of the Himalayas and the cooler temperatures too. The heat had now reached extreme as my phone shut off stating temperature warning, need to cool down. So I lost the ability to navigate following the GPX file. At the same time, the adhesive of the camera mount that was advertised would never come off, the camera started slowly falling off the helmet. So I had to reposition it onto a fixed mount on the motorbike. Well, things aren't exactly going to plan. Firstly, the phone had a temperature issue that just kept shutting down, and it did it 3 times. And then the mount on that I put my camera on the front of, it's so hot that the adhesive has let go. So I got to Bellbrook and went to go to the general store, and it has it's open for another hour, but they've scratched that number out and it's closed 2 hours ago. So winning everywhere and no cell reception signal. I don't have the maps for the next section of this GPS thing where I have to download them, and there's no cell signal, so I can't do that. And then one of the guys out the front said, "Oh mate, you must be hot. It's a heat wave." So apparently I'm going through a heat wave. I don't know how accurate the temperature gauge is on the bike, but it says 48. So everything is not ideal, we'll say. I'm sweating. Oh joy. So to go to this next GPX thing without files, without the map, I've got nowhere to go. I don't know how to get there. My phone keeps dropping out because of the heat. Yeah, I can always do that part on the way back. I think I might have to change plans. We may have to go to that goddamn highway. Pacific Highway. I think I might play it a little cautiously with the heat and having no navigation at all. We may have to make our way towards the coast. I made my way along the main road east until I saw a sign to Kempsey. So that's where I headed. I bought a roll of gaffer tape and proceeded to make a temporary fix to the camera mount. It's a lot cooler here. It's still in the high 30s. Apparently it's 40 further south, but it's not 48 anymore. So probably the best decision. I got back onto the road, and with the forecast of the heat wave to last a couple more days, I decided to head to a friend's place on the Central Coast, a few hours further south. Pulling in around 7:30 at night meant I'd been on the move for around 13 hours, and with the heat, I was pretty trash.